Hello everybody, welcome back. If you're new to the group, each week Molly and I present a word, and that word is designed to be a guide for meditation, contemplation, journaling, and discussion. This week's word is judgment, and this is a very powerful word. When we think about judgment, there's like two different sides of it. So in one perspective, judgment is a very good thing, that it's important to have judgment when you're looking at decisions. So we talk about people having good judgment or bad judgment when it comes to making decisions about their daily lives or about their future, in their families, in their finances, in their relationships. It's good to have judgment. It comes from experience. It comes from asking people in your life or asking trusted loved ones or trusted mentors in your life, and then making decisions based on all the information you can gather. The other side of judgment is the more negative side. So if I'm judging your life based on my perspective, that can be a very negative mindset to have, and it can impact your relationships, whether it's at home or at work or wherever you are, in a very negative way. So there's these two different sides to the word judgment. I think when it comes to having good judgment and bad judgment, when it comes to making important decisions, I find the key to a good decision for myself is looking at past experience, looking at how maybe a decision I've made in the past and how that impacted me. Oftentimes I'll get the perspective of other people around me just to kind of see what other personalities would do or would think in this certain situation. And then I really look internally on how that decision is going to affect me, because in the end, I'm the one that has to live with the consequences of my decisions. So I'm the person that has to deal with that. I'm the person that has to live every day and sleep at night with those decisions. So I make my decisions based on how I feel and how my comfort level on each one of those things that I'm deciding one way or the other on. When it comes to, and not everyone does that. Some personalities make really fast decisions. They're very good at decision making. Some people have a hard time making a decision. They feel like they're going to be very stuck with something once they decide on it, or there's this feeling of commitment in a decision, or even that they'll regret their decision, or there'll be some unforeseen consequences to their decision, and they have some more hesitation. So I think in like everything we talk about when it comes to your personality, some personalities are very quick to making decisions. Some of them have a little more time or spend a little more time on decisions. And when you're with someone who does not share your speed of decision making, it can be pretty stressful. So people who make fast decisions don't really understand why you can't make a decision, and people who are a little slower on decision making or spend a little more time contemplating their decisions don't understand the pressure from someone who makes very fast decisions. So those can be points of contention or points of struggle within personalities, between personalities in our daily lives. Now the idea of judgment, when it comes to this more negative perspective of judgment, when you're looking at your own life and you're looking at your decisions and your comfort level and the things that you see as right or wrong in your life, and you project that opinion out on someone else, onto their lives, and you're judging someone based on your perspective, that can be a very damaging and negative situation for your relationships. And people can feel very hurt by that judgment. People can get very angry and offended by that kind of judgment. It can be very insulting. And I think one of the biggest things that we can learn with the IMR system, the biggest thing that we can take away from understanding these 9 personalities, is that each one of these personalities has their own perspective. Each one of these personalities puts life through a certain filter that's very similar to other people that are their same personality, and very different from other personalities that are not the same. And those filters give us that stage upon which we stand, and that if we use that to judge other people in their lives, judge how they make decisions, judge how they live their lives, that can be very damaging. And it's important to remember that each person has their own filter and their own perspective, and that all of those filters and perspectives and feelings are true to that person, and that those differences aren't necessarily the difference between right and wrong, that just because you perceive the world in one way and you see right and wrong or the gray area in one way does not mean that that works for somebody else, does not mean that that's how they see the world. It does not mean that they're necessarily wrong. So that is a huge piece of what we're learning here today. And I think judgment is a very important part of that side of it. And some personalities have an easier time at being the devil's advocate or standing kind of in the middle, seeing both sides of things, being more flexible. And some personalities really struggle with that. They see their perspective as the right perspective, and anything that goes against those ideas or does not align with those ideas as wrong. And that is a very difficult place to be. And those personalities really struggle more with relationships because it's no fun to be on the other side of that, to be on the receiving end of that judgment. One of the funny things that I try to remember when it's happening to me, when I have a personality who's very strong in that place of judgment, they use the word should a lot. And one of the things that I've said to people that have a lot of that, you should do this, you shouldn't do that going on, I tell them not to should all over me. So that's kind of a funny way that I really set a boundary for people, that it's okay for you to have those opinions and perspectives. That doesn't necessarily mean that I have to live my life that way. Your perspective isn't necessarily the right one, and mine isn't necessarily the wrong one. So that's just one kind of funny way that I try to deal with people who have more of that strong judgment of how you should live your life and how you shouldn't live your life. And it's kind of an icebreaker when you're dealing with someone who has that going on in a really strong way in their own language and their own lives. And because they can be difficult personalities, especially if you don't line up with how they see the world and how they think you should be living. So that's just a little tip from how I use that little funny joke to kind of lighten the mood or lighten the tension in the room when it gets very serious and heavy and someone's trying to tell me how to live my life. So I hope you enjoyed my thoughts today on judgment. I would look forward to hearing your comments and your thoughts, and I appreciate you showing up today.